Welcome back to This Life of Ours. Today I am doing the Homeschool Mom Tag. This is a new tag that Project Happy Home, I think I got that right, put out a couple weeks ago. I've had a couple people tag me in it and several people comment that they'd like me to do it. So I am going to do that. I also have a Get to Know Your Homeschool tag. That was one of my very first videos. So I haven't watched it. So watch at your own risk, but I'll link that down below or up in a card, and I do plan to update that one later this summer. But let's get started with this one. When you're done with this video, be sure to check the playlist. There's been a lot of people who've done this video, so you can go find some new channels and just get to know other homeschoolers. Let's get started. Question number 1, were you homeschooled? I was not. Growing up, I only knew one family who homeschooled. They transitioned into public school. They had a daughter my age. They transitioned when I was in high school. I knew of it, but I didn't know anything about it beyond that's what they did. But yeah, no, I was not homeschooled. Number 2, did you always know that you wanted to homeschool? No. Number 2, did you always know you wanted to homeschool? No. When Elizabeth was a baby, the parenting board that I was on had a homeschool section. So I slowly started wading into there. And I don't know, I thought it sounded kind of nice, but homeschooling at that point, early 2000s, was very different than it is now. So it was something I always kept in my mind. And when we moved to Hawaii, we put her in a preschool on base, primarily during the time my husband was deployed, so that I had that time that she was there and I could just have been and whatever. And then when he was coming home from deployment, she would have been moving into kindergarten, and we were expecting to move that year, and I didn't want to do kindergarten in 2 different places, especially because we thought we'd be moving later in the spring. So I don't know, it just seemed like a lot. Anyway, we didn't end up moving then, but we were going to move the following fall. So again, I didn't want to do that. And then it just kind of became a thing. We take it year by year. Question 3 is, what are your 3 favorite books in your homeschool library? I've seen different people. I've seen people answer this in different ways. So I want to give my first impression, my first instinctual answer, and then I'll give my second. Story of the World series. If you've been on my channel before, you have very likely heard me talk about this book. I love this series. We have a few more chapters in the last book, and then next year I'll start over with Ancients, book 1, with my boys. I love it. I have learned so much about history that I didn't know, or made connections that I had never made before. I love the way they present the story. I love that, you don't learn about ancient Greece and then ancient Rome, and the way I learned it in school, very broken apart. Because the way they kind of do it all together, I didn't know connection. I never made connections that I did from here. So I love this. The new way things work, there are a few different versions of this. There's a new one that was released in the fall even. This, I didn't know that we would end up loving this book. I saw the recommendations for it online, and I bought it used on Amazon thinking, yeah, we'll use it as a supplement a little bit this year. We fell in love with this book. We've not made it all the way through it yet. It's kind of dense at times. Not in a bad way, just in a way that I have to have a really clear mind to be able to tackle it with kids. Because I am not, this book goes through, like, obviously how the way things work, but here's microphones, guitars, the printing presses, binoculars, steam power, pneumatic machines. I mean, the variety of things in here is crazy, and I am not my mind doesn't do that stuff easily. But it's a highly recommended book. I love it. My kids love it. My husband actually had this book when he was young. I didn't know it until I bought it, and he loved it. So definitely recommend this one. Number 3 would be The Well-Trained Mind. We are not strict classical educators at all, but I love the recommendations in here. I love the way she puts things, the way she teaches you what's developmentally appropriate at different stages. I love that it goes all the way through high school and has good, strong resources through high school. I think that's one area, middle school, high school, that is lacking in a lot of like blogs and YouTube channels and whatever, for a lot of reasons. But I think it's a great, so I especially like it for that reason. So even if you're not classically educated, that's not the way you want to go with school, I really think it's worth at least checking out from the library to get an idea of developmentally things and whatever. It's a great book. I love it. So that's what I think the way I was supposed to answer it. But what my first instinct was thinking about like resources for me personally. So this one obviously would still be number 1. And then for my other ones, I wouldn't say any specific titles except to say choose things that interest you in the realm of your topics and read up on your own self. So every summer, for example, I take a couple Coursera courses, I listen to audibles or nonfiction audiobooks, that kind of thing. First, it gives me background information for whatever we're preparing. 2, it sets a good example for my kids of continuing to learn new things all the way, past the designated school ages. And 3, it gives me a lot of information that I can then connect when we do our schooling. So especially if you're weak in an area or there's just something you really love, take that time and do that. So that's that. Question number 4, are you the only teacher? Mostly. And a good chunk of that reason is because of my husband's work schedule. He's just not available to do a lot of helping. But on the weekends, sometimes he will do experiments with the kids or that kind of thing. He fills in a lot of military history, war history with kids depending on which one we're doing. If my daughter needs help with math of an evening or a weekend, he'll help her with that. So he's quite willing to help. It's just kind of the way our schedule works out that I end up being the only teacher. Question 5, where's your favorite place to buy curriculum? The classified boards on Well-Trained Mind forums is where I get a lot of my things. Also, Amazon used book section, I buy a lot from there. Abe books, I buy a lot from there. But for traditional homeschool sources, Rainbow Resources is probably my number 1. I also order sometimes from Timberdoodle. I love their stuff and love looking at their stuff more than I actually end up buying from there, but it's a great resource. In another life and time, I would probably use Timberdoodle more than I do now. Question 6, do you have a set budget for your homeschool? I do, and actually I'm going to do a video in the next couple weeks talking about this more, but we kind of figure out roughly what our needs are going to be, and then we split it out over the year and designate so much money each month for it. I'm not as strict about it as I probably should be, but we do have a budget, and I do my best to use as much as I can so that I can take the extra and use it for supplements and field trips and that sort of thing. Question 7 is, what are your 2 must-have homeschool supplies? I have 3. The first one would be these friction pins. There's 2 different styles. This one's easier to find, but this is the style I like better. because, oh, well, first of all, they're erasable pens. So I love them for my planner because inevitably things change and I need to erase and whatever. So the reason I like these pens better is because this one, when you put the cap on, you hide the eraser. This one, the eraser's on the cap, so I don't know if you can see that. So you can, it's easy. I don't have to take the cap off to do it, and I can't leave the cap off because I will lose the cap. So friction pens are a must-have. I will warn you though that if you live in a hot area and you take your planner on the go with you, the ink will sometimes disappear. Now I've had success that it comes back when the temperature cools, like when you bring it back inside, but that is a warning. You can buy a set of these on Amazon. I buy them individually. I don't remember what the website is, but I will find it and link it below. Something like Jet Pens or I don't know. Anyway, these are a must-have for me. Second are these erasers, and I should have looked up the brand. I don't remember, but they are the best erasers. They are more spendy than the pink ones, but I love them so much more. You can usually, Target will have them on sale around the school time. Amazon is where I buy them. And you have to watch the prices on Amazon because they fluctuate a lot sometimes. But these, I love them. Number 3 is a good pencil sharpener that's attached to something. Those little handheld ones always get lost in our homeschool. So either a plug-in pencil sharpener that sits, that has a home, it's connected to the wall so it's not going to get lost, or a old-fashioned one. I have the old-fashioned one attached to our bookshelf. So that, because for us, anything, like if we have to go hunting a pencil sharpener, our school day's done. Not so much now that my kids are a little older, but especially when they were younger, like that kind of a distraction would be the end of our day. So, friction pens, these wonderful erasers, and a good pencil sharpener attached to something. Question 8, what are your favorite and least favorite subjects to teach? It's a hard one. I don't know. Favorite would probably be history. I love history. My kids love history. Maybe science. And I enjoy math a lot too. So I don't know. One of those, I guess. But least favorite depends on the child. With my daughter, probably writing, because our writing styles are very different, and we don't communicate well on, I don't teach her well the way she needs to be taught, and she can't hear well what I'm trying to teach her, if that makes sense. So probably writing with her. With my 9-year-old, depending on the day, probably math. He can do all these really complex problems in his head, but basic, like memorizing the math multiplication table. And it's very frustrating to me that he can do, that he has such a range. But I love our math, Beast Academy, for him. So, I don't know. There's nothing that I really hate teaching across the board. Question 9, have you ever been part of a co-op or a homeschool group? We did a co-op for a year when we lived in El Paso. It was on base, and it was fine, but it was a very supplemental, or enrichment, I guess is the word, one. And so it was good for what it was, but it ended up being, it lasted long enough that it was basically our entire school day, and it was hard to commit to losing a whole day for enrichment stuff as the kids got older. When we lived in Georgia once, we did a group that met every Monday, and it was good, but again, it was more enrichment type stuff, and if we had stayed there longer, I'm not sure that we could have participated, because it met in the morning, so it was our best time to do schoolwork, and it was all just extra enrichment stuff. We have not chosen to do a co-op before, because I've never found one that I like, all like the group itself and the parameters and faith statements and all of that sort of thing. So I've not found one that has all of that I agree with, plus has the curriculum that I think is strong enough, basically. So I've just never been able to find one that would work for me. There are ones that I've seen or that I've heard people talk about that I would absolutely love to do if we lived in the right area, or if we were stayed put long enough to get involved, or whatever. But yeah, so no, we do a PE at our YMCA. If you don't know if your YMCA has a homeschool class, I definitely would recommend checking it out. We've done it a couple places now. The one we do now has an hour of gym time, games, that sort of thing, and then they get an hour of swim lessons. It meets twice a week. It's excellent. The swim lessons have been amazing for my kids. They've improved so much since the fall. Another one we did would spend like 6 weeks learning to play soccer, 6 weeks on, track and field, that sort of thing. So check it out. I love it. There's a homeschool in both places. There's been a homeschool mom activity class, or exercise class, so it's good for me as well. But that's all we've done. And number 10, what is your homeschool style? Eclectic. We definitely lean classically inspired for a lot of the things that we do. When the kids were younger, I pulled in a lot of Charlotte Mason, a wee bit of Waldorf, a lot of, it's pretty eclectic. I pull in lots of things, but with a definite classical bent to it. So there are my 10 questions for the Homeschool Mom Tag. Be sure to check out the playlist. Like I said, while you're down there, I'd love a thumbs up and a subscribe. And if you do this video, or if you've already done it, I'd love for you to leave a link below so I can come check it out. Thanks for watching.